Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, folks, I gotta say, you are quite lucky because in this video, we're going to look at things a little differently. Well, I know you're probably very familiar with the fact that Lindor is going up against Shohei Ohtani, Mets versus Dodgers in the NLCS, tied right now at one game apiece. Mets just coming off a monumental win. But more importantly, if we focus in, we have a battle of the two front-running candidates for NL MVP. Well, going into this series and probably going into the playoffs, everybody's said hands down, Shohei Ohtani, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. He's got to be MVP, right? Right? Well, you know what? That may not be the case. That may not be the correct answer. All right, so let's look at a couple key factors. We're gonna look in this video. Who is the real MVP? Number two, and this is very fascinating. We're gonna look at the Lindor effect. The Lindor effect. Wow. Okay. And number three, best two-way player in baseball. Best two-way player in baseball. Think about that. And last but not least, we're gonna look at a little bit about finances. Finances. Okay. Before we get into this fun video, if you could like the video, help support our New York Mets channel. We cover baseball topics as well. So even if you're not a Mets fan, hit that like button, subscribe. We like to have a lot of fun here on Dominant Mets Nation. Okay, so let's get into the real MVP. And if we're doing that, let's make things simple. What is the definition of an MVP? Okay, and I know people probably have the idea in their head. It is the most outstanding player on a baseball team or, in MLB, NL, AL in general. So the most outstanding player. But let's looking more specifically criteria. The MVP voting has been around since 1931. So let's look at some criteria that has been used since then. And the number one thing is actual value of a player to his team. All right, so that's how it starts. And then in bolded letters, that is strength of offense and strength of defense. Right there. Then off the bat, we know that half of the number one criteria Shohei Ohtani does not have, cannot present. Number two, number of games played. Number three, general character, disposition, loyalty, and effort. Okay, so those are the intangibles. And we know both guys have similar intangibles, but you can kind of question who is more of a leader, who has more of an impact on their teammates, who makes their teammates better. I'll tell you one thing, if you look at the LA Dodgers record, they have a worse record this year than last year. And that's kind of funny since the Dodgers spent over $1 billion in the offseason, and that $1 billion added to a core of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, other players, Will Smith, Max Muncy, that they have. So they actually really record-wise got worse after spending all that money. So did Shohei Ohtani make them a better regular season team? I think not. We're still yet to see how they do in the playoffs. We know Shohei Ohtani's record in the past hasn't been good in getting to the playoffs. He has no World Series championship. So, let's table that conversation. Lindor doesn't have any championships as well. But, who has a better overall effect? Who has a better value to their team? Who makes their teammates better? And in the first criteria, strength of offense and defense. Okay, gives you something to think about because we know Shohei Ohtani, as gaudy as his offensive numbers are, that is not the only offensive stats, is not the only criteria for MVP. There is a lot more to being a most valuable player. And this is a reason why DHs haven't won the MVP. There is a reason why. I know 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Oh my God, nobody's done it. Give him the MVP. But that's not how it works. That is not the definition traditionally as constituted. It's just not how it is. All right. If you want to give it to him, give it to him. But that's if you want to be letter of the law, Francisco Lindor is your NL MVP. He's your NL MVP. Number one criteria, strength of offense and defense. Okay, we're going to get to the best two-way player in baseball very shortly. But first, before we get to that, let's get to the Lindor effect. And honestly, I was looking at an article, and let me get credit because the story goes to Tom Verducci, and basically started off looking at this as a scientist. He's like meteorology professor who would have loved Lindor. Okay, but let's not get into that. Let's get into more of the Mets Lindor aspect. Okay, so and he goes, if the Mets are creating chaos, there's a good chance it begins with Lindor, with his bat, with his gloves, with his legs. Lindor is a butterfly that spawns the tornado that is the New York Mets at their best. And if you think about it, through our season, when we are down, when we are going right, what gets us going? And I keep thinking back to this game 4 or 5 weeks ago when we had to win every game, when we were playing the Chicago White Sox and we were in game 2 and we desperately needed to sweep that series. We were going up against Garrett Crochet and he was freaking dominating. Third inning, we haven't touched the guy. Lindor comes up and he smokes a home run. After that, floodgates open and the Mets get on a bit of a roll. Has done it time and time again. Big hits against the Braves, big hits against the Dodgers. Anytime you need a big hit, it is done by Mr. Lindor. And let's not talk about his effect on the other players like Vientos. Okay, so it's important. It's very important to the Mets. It's very important. So this is a quote by Mark Vientos, and Mark says, I've learned to look at baseball in a whole new way because of him. I've learned to look at baseball in a whole new way because of him, said New York third baseman Mark Vientos. His observational skills are something I learn from all the time. He's opened my eyes to a whole different side of the game. Now, MVP, effect on their team, effect on their teammates. There's no other guy, especially in this playoff run, who is crushing it, dominating like Mr. Mark Vientos. I mean, this guy is a budding superstar, and when the lights are their brightest, Mark Vientos seems to get better, and Mr. Mark Vientos, as gracious as he's being, is attributing a lot of that to Lindor. And again, it starts from Lindor. Okay, we'll go on. The other thing he does so well is he slows down the game. Lindor slows down the games. These games are intense, but if you watch him, he goes about it and he's just so damn calm. It's amazing how calm he is. Now, in pressure-packed situation where you have 45,000 fans screaming at you and intense atmospheres like Milwaukee, like Philadelphia, now in LA, you need to have that calming influence. And having that at the top of the lineup starting off is so huge. It's monumental. It's monumental. So the Mets, obviously, as we know, evened up the NLCS with their 7-3 win. And, it was aided unwittingly by Dodgers management. I went into that with my video yesterday. Dave Roberts, thank you so much. But if you understand why it's now serious, you start with Lindor. In that first plate appearance, Lindor, epic 9-pitch at bat, but 9-pitch at bat, making the offense, the offense I always talk about, you making the other pitcher work. You make your lineup a gauntlet, and it starts with the leadoff hitter. If the leadoff hitter has a good productive at bat, make the pitcher work. It literally translates down the road. But, Lindor capped that epic 9-pitch battle with a home run. You couldn't have done it any better. Make the pitcher work, make him throw a bunch of pitches, and then you start up the game 1-0. Excellent. The Lindor effect. One inning later, and we are talking about the Lindor effect, the Dodgers wanted no part of Lindor. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, we know, obviously intentionally walked Mr. Lindor in the second inning to load the bases. That is almost Barry Bonds treatment. I repeat, that is almost Barry Bonds treatment. For sure, Vientos was asked, and he says, I took that personal. I took it personally. So, and we know what would come. Vientos would hit a grand slam, a la the Lindor effect. Crazy, crazy stuff. And it just shows you how this man impacts this game. Okay, as we move on, Lindor, Vientos hit that grand slam, and it's funny, after the game, Vientos continued to say, I just continue. I feel like it's just the praise for Francisco. You've got Francisco ahead of me, and he hit a home run early in the game, so they would rather take a chance on me. But I use that as motivation. I'm like, all right, you want me up? I'm going to show you. Whatever. And he hit that bomb. In scientific terms, in baseball, it means that little things win games. As great as the baseball philosopher put it, in a Phillies manager, Rob Thompson, borrowed to keep his hitters chasing against the Mets in the NLDS. Do the little things and the big things happen. And the little things start with Mr. Francisco Lindor. Shohei Ohtani, obviously, as gaudy numbers as he can produce on the offensive end, he cannot do anything on the defense. And is he doing the little things? Is he getting his other guys going? I cannot say he has that effect. I cannot say there is an Ohtani effect. Is there an Ohtani effect? I say not. There is not an Ohtani effect. You know, that's just my thing. Okay, now let's go over more of the Lindor effect. More evidence. Over and over, Lindor is that change agent. Since he moved to the leadoff position in May 18th, the Mets are 75-52. 75-52 since he moved to the leadoff position. And he called the players only meeting on May 30th when they hit rock bottom. And that, we all know, was famous for when the Mets turned their 22-33 season around to become the best team in baseball. Again, showing the impact of Lindor on and off the field. Crazy. We all know he hit that ninth inning home run off of Braves closer Raisel Iglesias to clinch the playoff spot. Clutch. This guy's clutch as hell. He drew the ninth inning walk of Brewers closer Devin Williams that led to the wild card clinching home run by Pete Alonso. Again, the little things. If you don't get on base, Pete Alonso is not going to be able to drive you in that position. He hit a six-inning grand slam off Philadelphia Phillies closer Carlos Estevez to clinch the division series. I mean, this guy is super, super clutch. He hit the leadoff home run and drew the second inning intentional walk that sent the Mets on the way to NLCS game 2. So we already know that. It is just super, super. It's indescribable to see this guy in his effect up and down the lineup. And when you need it most, you can rely on Mr. Francisco Lindor, Mr. Money guy, Francisco Lindor. I got some quotes here, and Lindor, when you look at his quotes, all he does is praise his teammates. That is all he does, is praise his teammates. He gives the credit to everyone else. And that's the clear definition of, there's good players and then there are leaders. He's not only a good player, he's not only a great player, he is a leader. He is an MVP, in my opinion. And, now as we advance on this video, it comes up, the best two-way player in baseball. Who is the best two-way player in baseball? And that is where we also enhance the MVP conversation, because I don't think there is anybody better that impacts the game like Lindor does. You got to remember, he plays a shortstop, one of the prime positions. So if you look at one of the best two-way players, you would have to probably look at a player who plays a prime position. So a center fielder, a shortstop. Those would be the two guys that you would probably say, two best players. So maybe you look at Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt's in the American League, so I wouldn't really like focus on him. But clearly in the NL League, National League, he is a guy who stands alone, playing a prime position as shortstop. And, it's being uttered around the best two-way player in baseball. And how much is that worth for you? How much is that worth? We had a conversation the other day. If Francisco Lindor was on the open market today, how much would he be commanding a year? We hear rumors of Juan Soto, and he's not a two-way player. He's not a two-way player. I mean, $34 million for this guy is a bargain now, a bargain for the type of monumental impact that he has on the game, both offensively and defensively. And like I said, there's way more that this man brings to the team. He is a leader on and off the field. He impacts the lineup in so many different dynamic ways. He impacts the defense, the infield, the pitching staff. There's so much that this guy has his finger on. It all starts from Lindor. Francisco Lindor is the emphasis. Francisco Lindor, in my opinion, is the NL MVP. And unless things drastically change, I think we have it on center stage, right now. And it is center stage because you see the New York Mets are in the playoffs. Yankees are in the playoffs. Dodgers, obviously, we're playing them. They're in the playoffs. So you got a lot of marquee teams, three of the highest payrolls in the NLCS and ALCS respectively. So you got these high price teams, Guardians being the 24th ranked payroll, so give them credit for being there. But you see the ratings is off the charts. I believe we're up 18%, watchers over last year. And that's because you got a team like the New York Mets, a great rabid fan base who love to watch their team. So you give the Mets credit. You give Lindor credit, and I can't say it enough. Drop your comments. Do you think, do you, I shouldn't even say this, but, I'm posing it in a way where, I'm giving Lindor, I'm taking some credit away from him. But, what do you think about that? I think it's a hands down. Lindor should have a good chance to win. But do you think Lindor has a good shot? Before the playoffs started, I don't think it was in anybody's mind that Lindor should be the MVP. Yes, would he get a lot of second place votes? Yeah, he'd probably be the second place candidate, but Ohtani was the hands down favorite. Now being matched up, seeing the impact on their team, the value to the team offensively and defensively as outlined in the rules, voting criteria, I would have to give my vote to Mr. Francisco Lindor, the true MVP. Not the guy who has an offensive anomaly. 50 stolen bases is nice. 50 home runs is nice. But you know what? It's been done. There have been guys who hit 50 stolen bases. There have been guys who had 50 home runs. Yes, okay, you're like, no, but one guy hasn't done those two. Okay, yeah, it's nice. The guy's not playing a defense. He's not having that wear and tear. It's easy to sit on the bench. You got to remember that, folks. He's not putting wear and tear on his body. He gets to go and sit down. It is very, and there's a reason why Ohtani hasn't done this before. It is different when he's got to go through his routine of pitching. When you could sit down all game long, it's way different than when you got to go back on the field. So that's also another reason why the DHs never win. Okay, it's a lot harder for you to put up those gaudy offensive numbers when you got to go play 9 innings of baseball. That's why we give a lot of credit to Francisco Lindor, the real MVP. Let's go, Mets. We got a big game tomorrow. We're coming back to Citi Field. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much. As always, I cannot say thank you enough. Let's go, Mets.